so our next speaker is somebody, when you think of Anheuser-Busch or so, you think of a beer company. And then he always says, no, we are a finance company that happens to be in the beer business. And actually now they're a data company that happens to be in the beer business. So it's a $56 billion company. And he's somebody who's been with the company and moved back to India recently. Also, he happens to be from, so this is a very important week for him right now. And so he's returned to India to start something that Anheuser-Busch is investing heavily in, which is building data science. They have almost 600 data scientists across the world to understand data. So to give us a perspective into what does a beer company look into data for, and how do they understand their consumers? Ravi. Okay, guys, a little bit.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Sudhanshu before me brought entertainment. I am bringing beer. And if Gautam after me can bring some popcorn, this is going to be a very interesting afternoon, right? Good afternoon. I don't think you're doing justice to the Budweiser energy here. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. One more from this side. Good afternoon. Lakshmi, thank you very much for the kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ravinder Sharma. I work for AB-INBEV, which also happens to be world's largest beer company. And I think all the themes that I'm hearing from you today, they really sound like ABI's themes as well, okay? And I think in the next 20 minutes or so, I hope you guys can relate to what we're also doing at ABI in terms of reimagining ourselves as a company, okay? But before we get there, right, let me say, when I think about reimagine, it means reinvention to me. I was watching a Raymond video, and when you guys were talking about reimagine, you guys talked about transformation. And you know what are transformations? Man, they are not only exciting, but they're also deep. They're multi-year. They take commitment, and more importantly, risk. You got to have certain level of risk in your company DNA to commit to that transformation. We're also talking a lot about dreams. I can tell you this, we at ABI, we are a company of dreams. So someone in Brazil 20 years ago had this dream to become the world's largest beer company. They did that in 8 years. When we acquired Anheuser-Busch prior to my time in the company to become the world's largest company. Now, at ABI today, fast forward 20 years, where we are by far the world's largest beer company by a factor of 3. We have different types of transformations staring at us. Now, instead of focusing on becoming the world's largest company, we want to become the world's best beer company that connects people together. Okay? So I think I'm going to talk a little bit about how the consumers are changing, what is driving a change in their consumer preferences, and then how we are pivoting towards those consumer preferences so that our company and its product portfolio is positioned for success for the next 100 years, okay? And obviously, I'm not going to play a lot of videos because Sudhanshu is a media man. I happen to measure performance of media, but we'll do justice to that, okay? So, first thing, consumer behavior is changing. We all know that. In my point of view, there are 2 big factors that are enabling that. In the age of social media, if you think about this, all consumers are marketers. Everybody is posting branded content or their own original content, and they are letting out their consumer preferences in the open. Every day, consumers are live streaming their preferences, okay? And the second biggest trend is technology. Technology is cheap today. Democratization of technology has taken place, right? Exponential growth in technology access today. Even in countries like India, and we just opened our new frontier in Africa, we see technology adoption accelerating big time, right? So if you combine social media and technology democratization, this is what happened in the beer industry. I think Sudhanshu also mentioned about BlackBerry. Everybody in Bangalore, especially, where I currently live, is the brew capital of India. Globally, there is a big trend on microbrews, craft beer. And believe me, if craft would be a technology trend, and we would be a technology company, it's okay for me to acknowledge that we would be out of business. Okay? But social media helped fuel the craft trend. Just in US alone, we're looking at 6,300 or 6,000 plus craft breweries. Numerous choices have proliferated for the consumers. Okay? So, and the second trend, which is piggybacking on this, is that related to technology proliferation. I think as a company, or many companies have started to look at consumers differently as really tech cohorts. Sudhanshu actually already talked about India getting segmented into smartphone users and feature phone users. Now, that is clustering a marketing organization can also work with to tailor content or speed of content or velocity of content for two different segments. Because in each consumer interaction, we actually see a data point. Okay? And then, take a closer look at this page, or this slide. This is between us as a beer company and our engagement with you, digital consumers today. Marketing today is being rebranded as marketing technology or advertising technology. So on this slide, you see the landscape, ad tech landscape in US between DMPs, digital data management platforms, DSPs, or SSPs, publishers, distributors of content. This is just the digital landscape in one country. Imagine the fragmentation that is happening in India and in Africa and in many other countries. Okay? And if we do not reimagine, one of the largest advertisers in the world, we actually spend close to $2 billion in advertising every year. Okay, so that's 14,000 crores in Indian rupees at today's exchange rate, okay? So we have to reimagine. Now, what has happened? Fundamentally, we are still a beer company, okay? But on the product side, we have definitely taken measures in order to quickly pivot towards that mega trend. So what happens when you are the world's largest beer company? On this page, you see $16 billion brands. So what we have done with our mainstream portfolio is that we have accelerated the pace of line extensions to quickly play into new need states of the consumers. So we're launching variations of our existing big brands, and we are ensuring speed to the market, okay? So that ensures that our portfolio actually stays healthy, which pays for further innovation down the line for us, okay? The second thing that we have done as a company, you know, Budweiser is known as king of beers. So ABI, being the king of beers, has also pivoted very quickly towards becoming king of craft beers. So those 6,000 plus breweries in US, we happen to now own top 20 craft brands in US through acquisitions. So inorganically, we have pivoted towards where the consumer preferences are today. Obviously, we are fortunately, you know, we are a very profitable company. I like to say we are the iPhone of the beer industry. We have 65% of the global beer pool profit. So that obviously helped us to make those big bets. But today, we are very well positioned, not only in the US in terms of our craft portfolio, but also globally, okay? And then, the other thing that we have done in order to make sure that our product portfolio is relevant, speed to market. Here you see an example of Bud Light line extensions that we have launched in US very recently. And I can tell you, from concept, design to securing or distributing them on the shelves in retail channels, we cut our innovation process to half in terms of the time it used to take. So within a few months from inception to selling it to the consumers, it took us only a few months. So with these measures, we believe that ABI is actually very well positioned in order to satisfy the new consumer preferences explosion that is happening in the marketplace. Now, the second big trend that I talked about is marketing technology, okay? And that's where I think, personally, my role in the company comes in. So marketing technology. Marketing is being labeled as marketing technology or ad technology. This whole marketing research domain is morphing into the same nomenclature as well. I think Sudhanshu also talked about reinforcing Viacom with an in-house data science function as well. Because we are generating so much data through these new consumer interaction, especially in the digital space, that we believe if you don't have this, I don't think you're going to be successful, any company, in the next 10 years or future forward, right? So within this, there are 4 things we are doing. The first thing is, with $2 billion in marketing spend every year, we used to be a classic mass marketer. We are walking away from that eventually. Just recently, if you Google, we have launched an in-house digital agency called Draftline. Okay? So what this agency's mandate is, to develop in-house digital content for custom audiences and with agility, better than what the marketplace can offer us. So that's an amazing change, right? From a beer company, we are now getting into media business, right? So that's something we are committed to. It's a big bet, and I think there's general consensus in the company that this is the right thing for us to do. And then you saw that last page where the ad tech universe is so fragmented, makes it so complicated for us to create those touch points with the consumers, and more importantly, understand them. We've also invested in a consumer data platform, which collects all our first-party data in one place, and then we have also allied with one data management provider in Crux globally. So DMPs exist between us and the consumers and the DSPs, so they actually consolidate all the data that comes from different sources, and then based on that data, create clusters of audiences so that we can fire our content to. Okay, so that is something we have also done. Then in terms of data itself, I think in the last 2 years, we have generated more data that we have in the entire history of humanity. Unbelievable. We believe that our data is still very fragmented, unstructured, and incomplete. So in order to remedy that, we have invested big time in a global data lake. Okay, it's not being built how you would architect a global or an enterprise data warehouse in 90s with Oracle. It's a very completely free-range exercise because we want to democratize data access in the company as well, especially when we have 500 to 600 data scientists, 200 of those sitting in India in the COE, as well as in all the zones and the different markets we have, right? And then data automation will enable agility so that we can focus more on analytics in order to understand consumer behavior, yeah? And lastly, I think in this entire push to become digital marketing first company, we have to walk away from long measurement cycles, providing insights to the business periodically to more real time. And that's another switch we have done. Lastly, I wanted to, in the last 5 to 7 minutes, I want to show you how it all comes together so that it is not like 56,000 feet up in the air, because we have already started seeing tremendous results from this based on the investments or this journey that we started a couple of years ago. Okay, so today we envision marketing analytics as a connected ecosystem. So on this page, you can see we are joining consumer perceptions with their behaviors through different things that we can do in this path to purchase. Okay? And some of this is strategic, some of this is going to be transactional, more execution focused. And then, what does that mean? In the digital-led world, it's all going to be targeted media buying. It's all going to be multiple touch points in my or your digital path to purchase, right? So, this is how our digital life cycle will come into play. We're going to take the data from each one of you and your interactions with Storm in India or any other channel that we leverage to make a connection with you. We're going to score your propensities, meaning your purchase behavior or likelihood for you to purchase our product, and then feed that analytical layer into a DMP, which is the interface between us and the audiences, and then leverage our own draft line in-house media agency to create and fire custom content to them relentlessly with optimized reach and frequency every day. That's our playbook to pivot ourselves towards the changing consumer behavior and the media consumption that is embedded in that consumer behavior. So what does that look like? We already talked about CDP. This is our database or data environment for first-party data. This is all the data that we generate within our e-commerce channel. We have around $500 million in e-commerce sales today, but we believe that at some point it's going to grow quite a bit from here because it's a very heavily regulated industry today. Then, if you take it further down, I think that's what Sudhanshu was also talking about. This, to us, is the framework to talk to you as a beer drinker. We want to look at every attribute that we can potentially leverage to our advantage to understand you better and your preferences so that we can provide you the right experience, experiential or any other, as well as the right beer that serves that experience or does justice for that experience, okay? So we have 500 brands globally in our portfolio. So we have $16 billion brands, but we have also a lot of local brands which are very strong, and that's where segmentation of audiences, mapping them to niche as well as mainstream brands is the right way to go because all brands cannot be supported with the same level of investments behind them. And we have already started to see some results. So this is an exercise we did with one of our LATAM markets, and India team actually executed it of late. And we have started to see for Michelob Ultra and Goose Island, which is our premier brands in this market. We've started to see some digital KPIs performing 2x, 3x of the benchmark KPIs, okay? So that gives us confidence that we are definitely on the right path in this journey. Now, this is all transactional. We also want to go towards more strategic behavioral analysis of our consumers, okay, embedded in their digital journey. So this is another illustration of how we are segmenting consumer preferences into their impact on the business, cut by device type, placement type, creative type, all that stuff, okay? So today, for all those $2 billion, we exactly know what is the ROI on each of these attributes. And these ROIs act as inputs into what we call as resource allocation for the company, okay? So, what is resource allocation? You start with a pot of money in a ZBB or zero-based budgeting environment, and then you apply mathematical rigor and insights in order to optimally allocate that money across countries, brands, and different types of media types. Up until now, we used to do that exercise once a year or twice a year, okay? With all that and in this 4-step process. All that I've described now will make our resource allocation process complete, as well as more rigorous, and more importantly, short cycle, so that we can continuously validate our choices every month, every quarter, maybe even every week in the future, so that the pot of money that we have generates the highest impact for our company. Ultimately, we are pivoting in order to grow our beer business. We are pivoting towards all these mega trends in the marketplace so that we can continue to become the most profitable company with the strongest portfolio that is out there, okay? And not only recruit or hold the consumers of today, but also position us for the future drinkers of tomorrow. So that's what I have for all of you guys. I hope in our journey you see how a large company like ABI is also quickly pivoting to these mega trends in the marketplace, because we have very quickly, narrowly escaped what was a large-scale disruption in the marketplace driven by craft, and we don't want to be in that same place like BlackBerry again. Thank you very much.
Ravi, one second. Just tell about, you introduced something about a week ago in India because of this.
Sorry?
Your beer, low alcohol beer. So it
Yes.
came out of your...
Yes, thanks for reminding me. Who is not a beer drinker here? We want to engage with you guys as well. So what we have done is that, so as a matter of corporate social responsibility, this is not a phenomenon only in India. We see this globally, that no alcohol or low alcohol is a big segment, unaddressed market for us. If you look at the total addressable market for beer, I think there's a very large segment that doesn't drink beer or alcohol in general, right? And we respect those choices. But, man, if you're graduating, you're not going to have a glass of milk to toast. I mean, if you're proposing to your girlfriend, I don't think you're going to carry a glass of milk with you, right? Or another kind of sweetener. So in order for you to participate, what we believe is a huge segment for us, we have launched Budweiser 00. So it is no alcohol beer, first of its kind in India. And as a corporate responsibility, we believe that in the next 10 years, our revenue mix should have 20% of the volumes coming from NAB, no alcohol, or LAB, low alcohol beverage category. So I encourage you guys to go and look out for Budweiser 00 in all the liquor stores or other retailers that you have here, and give us some feedback so that we can continue to make improvements to it. Cool?
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.